Hello YouTubers, and welcome to Retro Computer Kid Chris for the second review of Knightmare on the Amstrad and the Amiga 500, or whichever. If anybody's wondering why am I sticking to Amstrad and Amigas, I'm not. I'm just basically, the next couple of videos will be on different platforms, and that's basically what I'll be doing. I'm not just sticking to two systems. So yeah, the Knightmare game was made. It was to tie in with the actual kids game show. If any of you watchers remember the game show called Knightmare, it was on CITV at 4:40 or 4:45 on Fridays until it was axed in 1994 by ITV. And even in them days, I think it was when the ITV franchises changed over and Carlton got involved with their TV company. Anyway, moving on, veering off subject here. And the two games, one was released I think in 88 or 87, and the other one was released in the 90s, 91 maybe, on the Amiga. The 91 on Amiga, which we'll talk you through. I do apologise in advance for the loss of sound, but I'll give a basic review on the games. Okay, and this is the Knightmare for the Amstrad CPC 6128s, 464 and 664. This was on tape and disc, and basically I can remember buying this game in like Bo Jolly bumper pack cassette tapes of games. And my first impressions of it, yeah, it was like the dungeon game on ITV, the game show Knightmare. But when I seen it, it was so, you had two like oracles, which I think one was a bad one and one was a good one. One wanted to see your downfall, the other one was just there to advise, not to help. And you know what I mean, it was a good game. It was alike to the TV series of the early 80s, not the late 90s. They had this one had wall monsters in. The one which you'll see in a minute is, to me, it reminded me of Granitars. Yeah, the name is a funny name. As somebody commented, you have to basically on this section you have to give the old man food and water, and he gives you a spade. Then you go into the next room and you dig a hole. It takes you to a different part of the dungeon, as you'll see. And to me, when I was doing this, it's actually some really hard questions. Bearing in mind, when I first got this game, I was probably like 8 or 9, or probably even 12. Some of the questions they asked you were like, what? What's that? You know what I mean? And as you notice, to the right, the candle goes down. That's your life force. And in some areas, if you linger too much, if you linger too long into one area, like on the series, if you linger too long, you'd linger there forever. In other words, if you linger there too long, you die. And these like horned creatures, they're supposed to be goblins, but it's quite funny in them days how they created these special characters. As you can see, you get into the dungeon passage. From what I can gather, the aim of the game of this, you have to kill the dragon. You have to kill a dragon, and then once you've done that, that's it. Your game's completed. Which I thought that was like a bit. See, you know what I mean? If you linger too long, you get these goblin creatures after you. And it was a bit. See, again, you get these knights. You have to take a sword. You can take weapons, but the more you linger and the more they hit you, the more they'll take your life force. And it was just, luckily, you can use on your keys instead of spacebarring it all the while. You can actually put press the letter O to open door, and this is where the wall monster is. Unfortunately, I've forgotten the keyboard outlay, and no, I did know the answer to this question. It was Southampton where Titanic did sail from, but you know what I mean. You see even the graphics on the Amstrad in them days are brilliant. They did sound from Southampton. If you get a question wrong, this is what happens to you. All these weird, horrible creatures come. That's what happens. Your life force gets diminished, and that's it. And that's what happens. I like how I put to be continued. It means that it's an incentive saying, "Come on, get back on it, complete the game," and that's it for the Knightmare on Amstrad. So my view of the Knightmare on the Amstrad, when the Amiga one came out, I was like, which we'll move on to next. I weren't very happy with this one on the Amstrad because, yeah, it was parts of it was true to the series, but you know what I mean. There was no like, oh, you must put food in your knapsack for food, and your candle never went up when you ate the food. So to be honest with you, yeah, fair dues. It was the graphics. If they tried to do that, the computer wouldn't be able to handle it. But you know what I mean. But anyway, it's hindsight when you look at it now. You look at graphics now. They could do one now, which I might do a little bit of a review from somebody's from a Knightmare website, which I'll put the website address up at the end, knightmare.com, because they've got a game on there. I'll quickly review it, and we'll do a Brucey bonus as X-Files 2707, I think it is. What he says, I'll give you a Brucey bonus. We'll put that a little bit extra on there. Okay, let's move on to the next review anyway. The Amiga 500 version of Knightmare. Right, Knightmare on the Commodore Amiga. This was like quite a good game because this incorporated, unlike the Amstrad version, it incorporated where you have to retrieve the 4 quest objects. Now, if you watched Knightmare, the kids show, you'd have each contestant would probably have to retrieve. Sorry, they'd have to retrieve the Cup that Heals, the Crowning Glory, the Sword of Freedom, and the Shield of Justice. Blimey. Even back then, I can't even remember. So, yeah, this was like a good game, but in this game, you'd have to retrieve all 4 quest objects and defeat the dreaded Lord Fear. And do apologise about the black screen. So unfortunately, I'm using an emulator on this again, guys. Yes, I know it's not on the proper system, but this is the only way we can do it. And yes, you get like an option screen saying load new quest. If you've saved it, then that's you could have option. Even with emulators, I know you can save it on emulators. One thing that gets me as well when I'm watching playing a game on this is, I do apologise again about no sound, but you could actually, it's one of the players in there called Dickon. He was actually one of the winning team members, I think in Series 4, which was, he won the Crowning Glory. And you know what I mean, I think they used his name on there. I think it was just being like a nod to the series. You've got Treyguard on there as well, Lord Fear. I think that's about it. And Oakley, the tree troll. And that's about it. Fortunately, we're having to run a bit beyond time on here because of the timing restraints.